Hey, what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Retro Carded Rhino, and this is basically a reissue. There's a couple of new things here and there, but mostly it's the same as the old Rhino. We're going to make some comparisons, but there's actually some stuff to talk about that I don't know if I talked about before, because I got into the photoshopping thing more recently, but we're going to talk about some stuff. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about, we'll say to the top of his head, about 7 3/4 inches, give or take. His horns do stick up a little bit. He's got a little bit of meat around those nubbins, so we're not going to count that for scaling purposes. It's about 20 centimeters. If you want to see, let me grab a Spider-Man. I don't know why I didn't grab it first. That's what she said. Okay, so here's a Spider-Man figure, and here is Rhino. So size-wise, I like that. He's definitely the bigger version of Rhino. I know sometimes he's a little bit smaller. Sometimes he's a lot bigger, kind of like Juggernaut situation where the sizes just change all over the place. But I'm okay with the size. I think most people are. Okay, question of the day. Which version of Rhino is your favorite? Traditional, basically gray bodysuit with maybe some texture, or do you like the armored up version? For me, obviously armor is cool, but I like the classic look. Speaking of which, that's the look I like right there. And that's why we need to do a Photoshop of this figure, because I don't know if you guys can tell the difference here, but this figure doesn't look anything like that. Not really. That looks like a superhero, supervillain, comic book character type build. This looks like a toddler in like a Halloween costume of a Rhino, because he's got a really wide, big torso and then stumpy limbs. And it's just not the right look. So I'm definitely going to do a Photoshop to show you how this figure should have looked. But that aside, let's go ahead and get into the aesthetic. I think the first version of this figure, the first release, which was slightly different, the shoulder pads, the heads, alternate hands, I think is only really, I think those are the only differences. It was painted much better. This one is molded in solid gray plastic, that's fine. There's no wash. There's no wash on this guy anywhere, and if ever there was a figure that needed, I shouldn't say anywhere, I believe the horns have a little bit of a wash, but that might not even be a wash. That might be something else. It doesn't look like a wash now that I'm looking at it up close. Anyway, if ever there was a figure that needed a wash, it's this one. He is just riddled with cracked skin, Rhino skin, and it would look wonderful. Instead, they did this airbrush style shading of this greenish gray. It's just slightly green, or maybe yellowish gray. It's a weird color, and it's just in spots, and it looks horrible. It looks so bad. It looks like he's got spots, and they're not even, it's dark shading. The spray is dark shading, but it's on all the high spots. It's on the tops of the shoulders. Each ab gets a spot. Just a general poof of it right there on the quads. None on the shins. Makes him look ridiculous. It's just so terribly done. Oh goodness, this looks bad. That being said, the heads look great. I'll give them that. The faces are wonderful. These new sculpts are fantastic. Love these sculpts. Whoever sculpted these, they did a fantastic job. They are wonderful. Paint job on the head is still a little spotty around the gray parts. The black eye and then the human face obviously look great. I still can't quite tell what happened with the horns. It looks like it's not a wash, that it's actually just a paint job. But yeah, this head looks great. I'll bring the other head in now too, just so we can look at them. These heads are phenomenal. Very nicely sculpted. And then the paint job suits it perfectly. Hasbro nailed these. These are probably the best looking faces and heads, face paint jobs, whatever you want to call them, sculpts and paints. I can't speak. I'm getting no sleep and my allergies are nuts, so I'm hopped up on medicine, and it's a thing. But these are probably the best heads that they have ever released. Overall. Just wonderful, wonderful heads. So that does a lot to save the figure. It's why I sell custom heads. It's why lots of people sell custom heads, because a good head sculpt can really do a lot for a figure. So it doesn't save this figure. It is just a reissue with a bad paint job, frankly, other than the new heads. So I don't know. Can you throw those heads on the other figure? Technically, yes, they'll fit. They won't match exactly because of the paint job, but you could do it if you wanted. So I'm going to give the aesthetic on this guy. Like, the detail sculpting is fine, but the overall proportioning is just so off, though acceptable, I would say. It's just barely acceptable given the misfigured shape of Rhino as he's drawn sometimes. I'll say it's fine. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. The head sculpts are wonderful. They're worth at least 2 points. But if this guy was built like he's drawn on the box art, it'd be a 9.5, even with the bad paint job. He's just not. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the accessories. Obviously, I already showed you the two heads. Those are wonderful. We have the fist hands that come on them in the package. They're okay. They're fist hands, though they're not like really good fist hands because the index finger is sticking really far forward. So that's not great. But then we do have some gripping hands. One that looks like a gun hand, but you could use it for other things too, I guess. So they're okay. If it was just the hands, like, not great, 5 out of 10. But the heads are wonderful, so I don't like those hands. How about some open hands? I don't know. I guess they're okay. I'll go 7. The heads are I'll go 8. Okay, the heads are really, 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 really nice. Like, they are good enough that they don't even need... Like, obviously anybody could repaint a head who's really good at painting heads and make it look better. But just barely on these. These are done wonderfully. Okay, so yeah, I'll go 8 for the accessories just because the faces are so good. Alright, let's talk about the articulation. The head is on your standard Marvel Legends hinge, though it's reversed, so the peg is down in the neck, and it's not actually a ball peg, it's just a straight peg. So you get your rotation out of that, and then you get your hinge, which actually works pretty well. I think that's fine. It's not an ideal setup for most characters, but for this one, it works okay. Given the big, bulky nature of his neck, it's fine. You get decent range out of it. I like it. There's no leaning as a result, but you do get your rotation, so that's cool. Shoulders, standard ball hinge shoulder. They can't raise up any higher than that, so that really sucks. You get your full rotation. Bicep swivel is a bicep swivel. Fixed elbow on that. It's not the kind where it pegs through to the shoulder. This is actually just a standard single hinge, and it doesn't quite get 90, so that's a bummer. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. That's fine. Ab crunch on this guy. It should go back. I remember it going back farther. It's cut that way, but I cannot, and I have put all the force I can on it. I can't get it to go back any farther than that, so that sucks. And I got one notch going forward, so very limited torso. Waist twist is a waist twist. Gosh, that looks bad. If they had just made his waist taper like it should have, it would have looked so much better. Now when you rotate it, you get these giant flat things on the side because his obliques are just humongous. His pelvis is so weird. Okay, hips are standard ball hinge hips. They don't go very far out to the side. They go pretty far forward given his bulk, so that's okay. You don't get any backward range at all. Thigh swivel is fine. Single jointed knee, still super ugly and shy of 90 degrees, so that blows. Don't know why they sculpted it this way. You never need the kneecap to be a cap like that on a single jointed knee. Don't do that. Bad idea. Sculpt it into this part, or sculpt it into this part and make it flush. Don't do that. There's no reason for that giant flap there. That's weird. No meat flaps, please. Ankles go all the way back. That's really nice. They go pretty far forward. I'll take that. And you get a really solid ankle rocker. So it's not terrible for a guy this bulky, but it could be a lot better as is. And if it was sculpted the way it should have been with the right kind of proportioning, the narrower waist, the bigger chest, the shoulders that are higher up, the chest that's lower down, all of that would have made him look so much better. Or work so much better and look better. So I'll give the articulation a 6. It's passable for a big bulky figure like this, but it could have been so much better. Alright, so final verdict on this release. If you don't want the armored Rhino, then this is definitely one to pick up. And frankly, I know you shouldn't have to, and I never advocate for this as part of my reviews. This is just me giving you guys a tip. It's super easy to repaint gray. Like gray and black, really, really easy. So if you wanted to you could probably clean this shading off a little bit with some paint remover, probably even some like goof off or something like that. You could probably clean that off, throw a black wash on it, hit it with some dry brushing, some light gray on there, and you'd really bring it to life and make it pop. That's obviously up to you guys if you want to do it or not, but you could do it easily. So if you hate this paint job, you could make up for it, but I have to review it as is, and I don't like the paint job. I like that they tried to give it a nice look, and it almost even looks kind of good in the camera as far as I can see it, but in real life, the shading just makes no sense. A big spot in the center of the quads, none on the shins, each ab gets a dot. It's just weird. It looks really weird, and the color's a little bit strange too. I hate the shading. So yeah, if you want a Rhino, you have to get this. I think it's not really worth it for the price point. That's true of most Marvel Legends. I'm going to give this only a 7 out of 10. Those heads are really nice. A final verdict of 7 out of 10 because the new heads are really, 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 really good. And I don't think that the bad paint job is enough and the bad proportions are enough to just tank the figure completely. This is a valid enough sculpt, but it definitely should have had that traditional look. Like this right here, or like the one in the Photoshop. It would have made him look so much better. Look how short his thighs are. Look how stumpy everything is. It's just weird. So yeah, 7 out of 10. It's those head sculpts are really nice. That's all there really is to it. So let me know how you guys feel about it. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.